For the decontamination, I'm going to be using rinseless wash as my pre-lube and then iron remover as my final lube with the perforated synthetic decontamination towel. We push the car out of the direct sunlight, giving us a little more time to work, and also not walking around in the mud. So now we have rinseless wash over the whole surface, meaning iron remover and the decontamination towel. Now, yes, it's in the incredible suds, not a concern. The two are not going to fight on the surface. One spray on my towel, one spray on the surface. Oh yeah. We can hear it and feel it. Ooh, we can really feel it. The towel is actually dragging on the surface. Starting to feel it getting smooth on that side, so time to attack this side. Having been locked away in a barn that was rather dusty, that's why we're getting this heavy contamination on here. The window, which was the dirtiest, actually doesn't feel that bad, but glass doesn't hold contamination as well as paint does. Now that I've used all four sides, time to dunk in the bucket. Not much contamination on the sides, which is good. That indicates the vehicle was probably well maintained. On the top, we can expect that from being locked away in a barn for all those years. So very opposite than what we're used to. It's very contaminated at the top of the doors and very little at the bottom. The perils of storage. Just like the hood, the trunk is extremely contaminated. Those of you that are on our Facebook group will remember that I asked a little while ago, should I buy a Z3 or a 370Z? A lot of you answered, thank you very much. Sylvie saw that. That's when she started looking, and unbeknownst to me, bought this. So, is she a good judge of vehicles? I think so. It's the right color, matches the bus, but also manual 6-cylinder, and we get to make a disaster detail video. Ooh, speaking of which, very crusty upper door here. Iron decontamination done. Next step, rinse it off. Take a look at this. The windshield has come to life. The paint, not so much. Look what a little decontamination did. The windshield is beating off beautifully. Amazing. If only the rest of the car would do that. The paint now, after the washing, look at this beautiful wet look. The reason it has a wet look is it's wet. It's very wet. The water is just sitting there. You can see it starting to pull away from the windshield washer nozzles there. But the rest, the water is just sitting there. Next step, water spot remover. We'll see if giving it a mineral cleanse brings back a bit of beating to the paint. I'm going to go around, spray a bit of water spot remover on the surface. I'm putting a lot more than I normally would, especially on the upper surfaces, because we know it's been sitting for quite some time, accumulating those minerals in that damp barn. Now that I've sprayed the water spot remover on it, time to take a damp towel and just agitate the surface. I'm not going to flip the towel. The towel is dampened in Incredible Suds because that's the wash bucket we have today. So just going around the vehicle, working in the water spot remover, getting it everywhere, and agitating it to give it the best chance of doing what it needs to do. It's a very interesting feeling. The paint doesn't feel like we normally have it. From the contamination to everything else that's on here that we've taken off, we'll see when we rinse it what happens. A little better, but not what we'd call spectacular beating. Let's just say this paint needs a bit of help. We have a bit of paintless dent removal to do on the hood, so taking the liner out will make it a lot easier for the PDR guy. And oh, look what we found. Another little mouse nest. And did they chew through the wires? No, okay, that's just the windshield washer, so we're good there. But yes, the mouse was active under the hood as well. Before polishing, another step we're going to do is actually remove all this old wax residue. And the reason we're doing that before is the gold standard doesn't leave any residue behind. So we want to make sure that we're getting all of this out so when we are polishing, we're getting a better job. So again, a bit of all clean, rinse and stamp and brush. Oh yeah, that's got a little more body to it. This is old wax residue. It's been on there for a number of years. So it's going to take a little more work to get it off. Looks much better now. Let's carry around the vehicle, getting all these little areas with the wax build up, using all clean, a brush, and a bit of patience. In here we can see a lot of wax residue. So once again, a bit of all clean. An interesting fact about the Z3, it's one of the only vehicles on the road that the rear is actually bolted on. This is not welded on like most cars, it's bolted on. Let's move on to the next part. We have another line of wax there. So same treatment. A bit of all clean. The brush to agitate it. While I'm here, get around this marker light. Much cleaner, much more presentable. Around here, a few things to take care of. There's a big amount of wax residue around the Z or Z, depending on where you're from. We had shown you before, there's a lot on this back lens, of course around the BMW symbol, and around the trunk release. All areas that when you're waxing, please go in there and make sure you're getting that wax residue off, not just the day you're waxing, but a day or two later. Now with this car, we don't have to worry about accumulation around the emblems from having gone through a car wash. So we're lucky with that one. Now Sylvia's falling around, microfiber and just a little plastic spatula that's inside of it to get all the dirt out of those cracks, and especially the wax residue. So she's gone around a couple of those cracks, as you can see. And now we have all the wax residue off of this light. I can move around the corner. There's still a little on this here, and you want to let it dry and inspect again, because sometimes it comes back to haunt you. We don't know what this is. It's pre-existing on the car. I'm going to try a little tree sap remover because it feels like it's on the surface. And we've washed it with all clean, we've used the iron remover, and we've used water spot remover, and it's still there. So our last thing, it could be some glue residue, could be something else. We see it going white when we spray this on. So it's a good sign that there's reaction, and there it goes. So it's coming off. So with some form of glue or tar residue, so we'll just add a little more. Let it dwell for a moment. It could be rust proofing. Who knows what it was? We didn't put it there, but now we know what takes it off, and that's tree sap remover. The advantage of using a chemical as opposed to polishing to remove this is we're not damaging the paint below it, we're not hurting anything, and we're not trying to polish this away and then it getting in the pad and doing other potential damage to the surface. Now I'm going to spray a little bit on the corner of the towel, and I'm using a low nap pearl weave towel. So a few more little spots. And we will have gotten rid of another eyesore. And there we have it. Today we're going to be polishing the Z3, making sure that it's ready for a ceramic coating. Now, we've gone over the vehicle, we found a few little items like bird droppings and scratches and things that we want to address. The vehicle has been polished before, so we don't want to be too aggressive, but in order to get the best finish possible, we want to be just a little aggressive. And instead of going with the gold pad and doing multiple passes with the gold pad, we're actually going to be using the wool pad to cut and the red pad to finish. This will give us a little more cut, but at the same time being less aggressive. Some areas the paint is quite thin. It's down to 80 microns in some areas. On average, it's about 95 to 100, which isn't exactly thick. It's a 24-year-old car, still has the original paint. We want to keep as much of this original paint as possible. In doing so, the gold standard, the wool pad, and we'll finish with the rotary, making it really nice and shiny. Will we get every defect out? No. Removing a defect means removing the paint down to the level of that defect. We're going to make it look better, acceptable, and make it fun to drive. Off we go. Always starting with a clean damp pad. We have one spray of the gold standard on here, and the hood is rather large on this vehicle. We're going to break it up into different sections. There's also been some touch-ups on here in the past that, let's just say the brush was a little bigger than the hole, so we'll be polishing that touch-up away. We'll be doing touch-ups on this vehicle.
What speed do you use?
I'm using speed 2. You don't want to go much higher than that, speed 3 being the maximum.
With the DA?
Yeah, with the DA. Perfect. Speed 1 with the rotary.
Yvan, why you want to polish it?
We want to make it look better. We're going to be putting a ceramic coating on it, but we want to make it as clean as possible. Get rid of those small swirls, but we're not going for perfection. We're going for preservation more than anything else.
Yeah.
Here we see a lot of white and a lot of need for touch-up. We'll be doing the rough polishing before doing the touch-up, and the reason for that is we want to get rid of the wax that's in all these pores, because there is a lot of wax in those pores. The previous owner was a fan of wax. We found wax inside the door jambs, we found wax inside the trunk jam, you name it, it was waxed. Good protection, but we want to do a little better. And in doing better, that will be by polishing this up. Then we'll see what's wax residue and what's actually a need for a touch-up. Now you notice we have the car up on jack stands. One of the main reasons for that is actually to make polishing easier on us. It's very quick and easy to put it up on jack stands like this. We don't have a scissor lift in this garage, unfortunately. But we do have the jack stands, we have a jack, we put it up about 12 inches. That allows us much better ease when polishing. You notice Sylvie was actually polishing the rocker panels underneath. That allows us access for that. That allows us a lot more extra maneuverability, and the car is low enough that we didn't have to force to get onto the center of the hood.
Yeah, that's good.
Next step, rotary and the red jeweling pad.
Yeah.
This is the fun part of the detail for me.
It's very smooth. It's very easy to put the machine on the paint, and we have good results.
Right, lots of fun. So let's get it all jeweled up.
I like this pad. It's very smooth and it go everywhere.
The nice thing about a waffle pad like this, especially this one, very, very thick, and like Sylvie was saying, it's very soft and smooth, and it allows you to get into everywhere without having to contort the machine and do all sorts of weird movements.
So easy, I can do it. Some people ask, can you correct the paint with the red pad or just put the gloss?
You can just put, well, you can do paint correction. You have to be very, very patient at it. What we are doing is amping up the gloss. That's what it's designed for. It's a jeweling pad. So yes, you can, quote unquote, correct paint, but it's going to take you a little longer. Next step, wiping off the polish residue. We're using a damp towel first, followed by a dry towel. You don't want your damp towel to be too wet because you're just going to be fighting it. So you just really need dampness.
And you don't need to dry immediately too.
No, you want to wait for Mother Nature to help you a little bit first.
Do you like your result?
So far, so good.
I think the red pad do the very good job to gloss the paint, and it's just crazy. It's too easy.
It is easy. If detailing isn't fun and easy for you, reconsider. It should be. Yeah, the large scratches are almost gone.
Yes.
We know where they are, but someone coming up to the car won't.
Yeah, I can live with it.
Yes.
The customer is happy, I'm happy. This car is a very good candidate for the paint touch-up.
Yeah, it's got defects just about everywhere. Not just on the front end. There's scratches, there's door dings.
But it's a very small ding.
Nothing that needs repainting, just improving. One of the big changes as well is we got rid of all that white wax residue from everywhere. That in itself has made a nice difference on the car.
Yeah. I think you have 20,000 chip less.
Yeah.
I don't know 1,000, but many of those. Next step, paint touch-up.
We're going to go into how to properly do paint touch-ups. Now, when you're thinking of paint touch-ups, most people think of these. They're available at the dealership. You can find them in different stores. You don't want those. Those are not going to give you nice paint touch-ups. What you can do for good paint touch-ups, we'll have a few different strategies for you. First of all, we want to make sure the car is clean. We want to make sure you have no residual waxes or anything in the areas that need touched up. These are rather large. We have some smaller stone chips around the hood, around the door as well, that will show you those as we go. Now, first of all, like I mentioned, want to make sure this is clean. We've actually polished this car, and the gold standard polish from DIY Detail does not leave any residue. Therefore, it's nice and clean in there. There are different ways of applying paint touch-up. One, go to your paint store. They'll mix up some paint for you and tell them it's for a touch-up. When you tell them it's for a touch-up, they'll also put the clear coat in it. So you don't need to do two separate steps. You don't need to go crazy with it. The other thing is, for paint touch-ups, a lot of people go overboard. And by overboard, they overfill the chip. Then they try to sand it down and polish it. It's a paint touch-up. Your car has a bit of life experience. Don't worry about it. What you don't want to do is overfill a chip. Then it looks like a wart. You actually want to underfill. You want to leave it slightly concave. By leaving it concave, your eye doesn't pick it up anymore. Yes, at this distance, we're going to see it, but from a larger distance, it's going to be fine. Now, I mentioned going to a paint store, getting some paint touch-up. There are some paint pens on the market that actually do a much better job. And this is from a local company here called Genie Color. You might be able to find these locally. You may not be able to. These are a very, very fine tip. And that allows you to dab in to a chip like this without overfilling. So when you push on the pin, it releases paint, and then you can spread it around inside the chip. Now that chip isn't overly full. I can actually add just a little more. And then I use the tip to move the paint around, getting it nice and smooth. From there, as the paint dries, it's going to go down a little bit. Now, something large like this, yes, we can use the pen like this and try to fill it in. And again, this is a very deep gouge, so I'm not trying to fill it, I'm just trying to get it colored. And once it matches the color of the car, There we have it. Now this one is very deep and we're probably going to do 2 or 3 passes with it. We don't want to try to fill it all at once. You want to apply your touch-up before putting a wax or a coating or a sealant on it. You want naked, clear paint. Now, these pens are great, but not everyone has access to them. The other thing is just getting paint from your local paint store. And you want to mix it up. And these, like the one I discarded there, sometimes will have these big brushes in them. Do not use this brush. It's way too much paint. Instead, I'm going to put a little paint in a small container. Seal that back up. And now I can use different tools. They make these on the market. You can pick them up on Amazon or at your local paint store. They're like a small brush that allows you to dip into the paint and fill in an area. And they make them in different sizes. This is a 2.5 millimeter size. And don't be overly concerned when you first put the touch-up on that the color isn't perfect. As paint cures and dries, it'll change color a little bit. So these are great for large areas like this. What if you only have 1 or 2 small chips, nothing major, or like that line there. That line is way too small for the tip of this. So instead of using that, you can go to the kitchen and just pick up a toothpick. Toothpick is actually a very good touch-up tool. It allows you to get the paint exactly where you want it, very thinly, because it doesn't absorb a lot of paint. It gets the paint on there through capillary action instead. So you're flowing the paint into the crack, just like that. I'm going to go around and just get those edges that I couldn't with that large tip. And the paint's already starting to cure, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'll come back to it. Don't be in a rush to do paint touch-ups, and don't be stressed, because if you are, you're going to not have a good day. So again, using just the tip, I can get in there and fill those nicely. Now up here we've got a larger chip, and this is a traditional stone chip on a hood. You see it's raised the paint a little bit. And I can just, once again, there we go. Very simple and easy. You don't need a lot of fancy tools. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to be able to do paint touch-up. You want to go around, look at the vehicle, find the chips, and once you've gone around once, more will come to the surface, because your eyes are looking for the big ones. And when there's no big ones, your eyes will start seeing the smaller ones, and they'll start seeing more and more of them. So don't be afraid. The chips, they just keep coming at you. But eventually, you'll get them all filled in. And we can simply roll in the paint with the edge of the toothpick. You can hear it where it was scraped. And we don't want to try to dab in like this. You always want to rest your hand on the surface. That way you have much, much better control over the tool that you're using. Another thing you can do is actually thin the paint, find out from the paint store, and then use just a small needle to get into all these areas. It's another technique. If you want to get to the very, very fine ones, you can doing it that way. Next step, C6 app, the adhesion promoter polish. This replaces a panel prep for any brand of coating, and we're going to be doing it over the whole vehicle except for the windows, because we'll be putting C6 hydro glass on there, and the panel prep is a better solution for the windows.
You all ready?
Yep. I'll be applying. Sylvia will be leveling the app.
Yep.
And you can wipe it off immediately, or you can wait a day if you want. It's not a time-critical product. Now I'm going to be putting 3 small drops on the pad. This is a 6-inch pad. You can put 3 or 4, but 3 should be enough.
Ooh, it's enough.
And apparently this polisher has a very hair trigger. So we have some on the car, so I'll pick that up. The only downfall with this type of trigger is as soon as you touch it, the tool is on.
The goal with apps, we need just spread the product on the paint. You don't want to polish it. It doesn't correct anything. You just clean the surface and prep for the coating.
Right, so basically we're just applying it to the surface. And we just keep going around the car like that.
Very easy.
Actually, I don't need any more. There's still enough on the pad, so we keep going around the vehicle. I've done half the car so far, and I still have app on my pad. I don't need to apply more. As long as you're seeing the app go on the surface, there's no need to apply additional product. Less is definitely more. You can see what the pad looks like. We have the app basically taken out of the pad. It's applied to the surface. So now I'm going to add an extra drop or 2. And as long as I don't fling it around the room, we'll be good to do the other half of the car.
I can remove all stuff very easily because you don't put too much.
No, exactly. The less you put on, the better it is.
You look good. It's already more glossy, I think.
Yeah.
Put some gloss.
The app lightly swells the paint and locks it in that swollen state for the application of the coating. It doesn't fill any of the pores, it opens them, making the coating bond much, much better. Now, in doing so, like I said, it swells the paint just about 1 micron, and when we apply the coating, it's going to give us even better gloss, even better depth to the coating. An app can be used with any brand of coating, not just the C6 and DIY coatings. 1 more drop, just to get that front bumper done. So you can see the pad is dry. We didn't wet the pad. We didn't use a lot of app. We're good to go. We didn't put any on the headlights because we are going to be applying paint protection film to the headlights to keep them in a little better shape. And of course, I didn't do the windshield or side windows with the app because we'll be using panel prep to get it ready for C6 hydro glass. We polished the windshield with the gold standard polish. Now I'm going to apply panel prep. I'm not going to spray it on the windshield because I definitely don't want any of this on the paint because we have the app there. So I'm using a low nap towel. I'm going to put a bit of the panel prep on the low nap towel. Apply it to the windshield. and immediately wipe it off. What we're doing in this case is floating the oils that could be on the windshield to the surface with the panel prep, then removing them getting it ready for the hydro glass. And if you ever struggle cleaning windows, panel prep is actually a good glass cleaner. Next step, hydro glass on the windshield and side windows. I'm going to be putting 8 or 10 drops on the applicator and start spreading it on the windshield. And we'll let it sit there. You want the hydro glass to sit as long as you can, actually. Makes it easier to wipe off, gives it time to bond properly to the glass. You want to give it a minimum of 15 minutes. But if you can let it go an hour or two, even better. Putting it on before the coating, it has time to cure. Just want to make sure we're getting it everywhere. You'll notice it starts getting a hazy white appearance. That's normal. Let it be. Don't be stressed out about it. Now, we've been asked, can we do 2 coats of this? And on the windshield, actually you can. Once you've leveled it off, give it an hour, and you can put a second coat on. It is going to help a little bit. Give you just slightly better performance. So as this goes hazy, we can start applying the C6 Diamond. Next up, C6 Diamond. The reason we're putting Diamond on this, we have C6 Hydro, we have C6 Hydro Light, we have C6 Diamond. Of course, the DIY coatings. We would like to keep this car a little while, first of all. Secondly, this is not going to be a daily driver. This is going to be a fun weekend car, just doing errands, things like that. It's not going to be outside all the time. It will be garage stored when we're not driving it. So C6 Diamond is probably the best choice in terms of it's going to give us the best gloss and shine and depth to the paint, and this nice metallic red, the depth will be a nice thing. C6 Hydro is the one you want for the daily driver. It's the one that the car that's outside all the time, that's not getting cared for the best. Because of the hydrophobics and self-cleaning ability of C6 Hydro, it is much better. Now, this one, like I said, not our daily driver, not the one we're driving out in a rainstorm or snowstorm, so C6 Diamond it is. Like any of the C6 and DIY coatings, less is more. So I'm going to be starting off with 8 to 10 drops to prime my pad. Now that my pad is primed, I'm going to apply it to the surface. Normally I would do the outside boxing, but since I have an excess on my pad, I'm actually going to start in the middle and spread it as far as I can. Once I have the pad primed, then I go around and in circular motions fill in the area, making sure that I have it everywhere.
And today in the shop is very humid.
Yes, today is a very humid day, and since it's humid, that means
Faster cure. You have something here.
oh yeah, I have a little excess there, so I'll get rid of that, spread it out onto my applicator. And as long as I'm leaving coating on the surface, I don't need to apply more to my applicator.
When it's ready, just pass with the short net towel. And if he doesn't, it's the, I see the mark.
Yeah.
And I wait a few seconds.
Not quite ready. This is a small car with a really big hood.
Ah, yes, you have more paint on the hood, the whole car.
Always making sure to overlap. I want to make sure that I'm getting it on all the seams, therefore I overlap onto the bumper, I overlap onto the fender, I overlap onto the windshield post.
Why I have two towels, Ivan?
One to level, one as insurance. So the
And
short nap to level, the other one is insurance. That way you're sure you're not leaving any high spots. High spots with the C6 are not something we want to leave behind. We'll go down the passenger side of the vehicle and bring our way back around to the front bumper when we're done. As we're working around the vehicle, Sylvie and I have been applying coatings for over 20 years together, so we know what to expect of each other. And I'm moving slowly down the side of the vehicle, making sure that Sylvie is able to keep up, because sometimes the leveling is a little slower than the application,
almost.
especially around emblems and things like that, because we make sure that we're getting everything off the surface. While Sylvie's catching up, I'm going to do a little summary inspection, make sure we didn't leave any high spots anywhere. Because high spots with C6 Diamond are very, very difficult to remove. So we want to catch them before they fully cure. Areas of potential high spots around mirrors. Anywhere there's panel intersections, those are potential high spots. Door handles, emblems, those are all potential high spots.
You find something not good?
Not yet.
Not yet. I like the result with the touch-up paint. It's good. It's just,
Yeah.
of course, it's not new, but it looks good.
It's a 5-foot job. So if you're really up close, you're going to see the touch-ups, but from 5 feet away, it looks perfect.
And we don't want paid for the new paint on the bumper because it's like expensive.
Yes. Now that we've leveled the coating on the paint, I'm going to level the coating on the glass, just using a low nap towel. It levels effortlessly.
But the sign is good to level on the windshield. It's easy or...
Yeah, if it's easy to level, it's good to go. If you feel any drag or difficulty leveling, let it sit a little while longer.
And you don't need a special stuff to remove it.
No. Any towel will do. I prefer a low nap towel myself. And you will notice sort of almost a greasy look. Don't worry about it. That will go away in an hour or two. So don't try to get all that off, because you won't. As it finishes curing, that little hazy look will dissipate. So just going around looking for high spots, making sure there aren't any. And the easy way to do it is just go over the surface again.
Yeah, it's my trick.
Especially where you know high spots can be a problem. That's anywhere there's joints, emblems, mirrors, door handles. Those are all areas that can lead to high spots.
Nice job.
Thank you, and thank you. See you in the next one. In the meantime, take a look at this video right here.